195,000 jobs being supported by investments. Investments from European companies into the United States, 83,000 jobs supported by that. 112,000 jobs created by the fact that Europeans are massively, about half of all their defense spending when it comes to defense industrial output is spent in the United States. 112,000 jobs. Last year they spent $54 billion on US defense industrial output. There is now an order catalog, an order backlog of $300 billion. So $300 billion of defense spending from Europeans, buying this in the US over the next couple of years, which is already on the order book. Last year 54 billion, a total now order book of 300 billion, totally almost 200,000. These are real jobs, real people. Like you had yesterday when you spoke in Pennsylvania, the people behind you. But I want to say two things more, if you allow me. First of all, to get all of this done, we had to increase the defense industrial output. There is a big problem. The problem is that both in the United States and in Europe we are not producing enough. Our stockpiles have to be replenished because of the war in Ukraine and what we do there, and for all the other reasons. You have taken leadership here. Last week you signed the Defense Procurement Act. You made it possible for companies to work together to be able, therefore, to ramp up their defense production. You have been very harsh with them a couple of weeks ago. I had one of them over in my office. Yeah, it was really harsh. I had one of them over in my office. He was still trembling. One of the CEOs. And I said, this is good. This is exactly what we need. Because we need this extra defense output. This is important for Europe. When I point at all these jobs, of course, also many jobs being created in Europe and in Canada. But again, almost 200,000 here in the United States, supported by all these investments. But it is about defense industrial output. And this is also what the Ankara summit has to be about. The whole first day will be about defense industrial production. Because we can spend as much as we want. But we need the interceptors, the missiles, we need the tanks, we need the artificial intelligence, etc., etc. And this is what you are doing that in the US, but also therefore putting all that pressure on the defense industrial base. And finally, you had the G7 last week. I think that was a big success. What you've seen there is that, yes, you are President of the United States, but I want to make this point. For me, you are first of all the leader of the free world. In 2 weeks in Ankara, you will have not 7 countries, you will have 42 countries, the 32 allies, US and the other 31, but also 9 or 10 other countries from the Middle East, from the Indo-Pacific. And they want to hear your lead. You will provide it, I know this. This is what you do in Iran, this is what you do in defense industrial output, on spending, and all of this. You being leader of the free world, and now we see it with Ukraine, the fact that Ukraine stays strong in the fight, that you still provide all the stuff they need, paid for by European and Canadian allies, fair enough, but very important for them to stay in the fight and all the other things the United States is doing. So I'm really looking forward to that summit. I know that Erdogan, the president of Turkey, looks forward to receiving his good friend Donald J. Trump. But I just wanted to tell this story because, ladies and gentlemen of the American media, this is important. This is your president, but also leader of the free world, taking the leadership role as is necessary.
Thank you very much, Mark. Thank you very much. Any questions, please?
Mr. President, after all this, you've been so transformative vis-a-vis NATO, and I think the Secretary-General just stated that. You transformed NATO, the likes which nobody would have even thought that you could have done. After all that, do you still think that European allies, like you told me, treated you badly? And if so, what can they do to make things better? And to you, Secretary Rutte, can you confirm that all the thousands of flights, as you stated today and yesterday on Fox News, are in compliance with NATO treaty?
Well, let me just say, he's been a friend of mine. He's a great guy, great leader, great Secretary General. Everybody respects him. And I appreciate your nice words, but you really have done a good job. And I think if anybody else were in that position, we wouldn't even be meeting today, to be honest with you, because we were let down. We didn't need help on this at all. We demolished them in literally the first week. But it would have been nice if they would have said, we'd like to help. We didn't even need it, but it would have been nice if they said that. They didn't say it. But as Secretary General, and he's the boss of the whole operation, he was, I believe if I would have called him, and I didn't bother doing that because I was doing individual countries just to take the temperature and see how they were doing. But I think if I would have called him, he probably would have found a way to help if we needed it. I feel, would have been a little bit different. But I was disappointed. I was disappointed with Italy. I was disappointed with the UK. He's now gone. And, he had a lot of problems. But we were disappointed with the UK. We were disappointed with Germany and France. We were disappointed with most of them. Spain is a horror show. Spain is terrible, even from your standpoint. I mean, they don't want to pay anything. They think they're in for a free ride. Spain is not a good group. Not a good group at all. But I have great respect for this man, and so we're going to be discussing what took place, and we'll see what happens. Thank you.
Can I answer to your
Yes.
second question? Because I don't have many disagreements with the President of the United States. Here I have slightly, because I do agree there's reason for disappointment, absolutely. But my argument is this. These are isolated cases. When you look at the overall, take for example Germany. From day one, they delivered on their these are bilateral commitments, a bit of the techniques of this, but the technology, but these are bilateral commitments these countries are having with the United States. So this is not, strictly speaking, NATO. Bilateral commitments, they all did what they promised to do. And this led to between 4,000 and 5,000 US planes taking off from Europe. I would argue it would have been very difficult to do Iran without having Europe as a power projection platform for the United States. But again, he's right. There is also reason for disappointment. It is a mixed bag.
Well, the big question is, are they paying the 5%? They agreed 6 months ago when we were together to pay 5%. And for the most part, they're not paying.
Well, when you look at the numbers, take for example Germany. So we agreed they get a couple of years to get there because you cannot spend it in 1 year because you have an absorption problem. But Germany, for example, Germany is doubling its defense spending between 2021 and 2029. They will spend over 150 billion by 2029, which is staggering, more than the French and the Brits combined even. Take the Dutch, and Poland and the Baltics already there. Countries like Denmark really stepping up. So and the Nordics. So it's a bit of a mixed bag, but most of them are doing it, and the alliance is so much stronger because of this man.
Are the sorties in compliance?
Please, yellow dress.
Thank you, Bertrand from GB News. You mentioned that our Prime Minister has got one foot out the door. The new guy's coming in, Andy Burnham. What do you know about him, Mr. President? And what does he need to do to improve the relationship between
Know about who?
the new incoming Prime Minister, Andy Burnham?
I don't know anything. I see that he was, I guess, the mayor of a town. I hear he's extremely liberal. Extremely. So that means he probably won't open up the North Sea. I gave Keir Starmer some pretty good advice. I said, open up the North Sea. Go to Aberdeen, which was the hottest city in the whole continent. It was the oil city. It was the oil of Europe. And they closed everything. It was terrible. I saw it before my eyes, and I couldn't believe it. The North Sea is loaded. I have had every oil company come to see me. Sir, could you give us access to the UK? We would do anything to drill in the North Sea. And they haven't even found what's there. The amazing thing is they buy their oil from Norway, which gets the oil from the North Sea. Think of it. And they pay a big premium. Norway's got now $2 trillion in the bank, and UK is dying. So they should open up the North Sea. It's an easy one. And a lot of good things are going to happen. It's among the greatest fields in the world. Peter?
President Trump, great night for Democratic Socialist candidates last night. In the New York primaries, they swept and knocked out 2 incumbents. You're from New York. Why do you think it is that now the endorsement of Zohran Mamdani means more than the endorsement of Hakeem Jeffries?
Well, they're going radical left. They're going really, you talk about the Democrat socialists. It's really communist. These people. I watched that woman last night. That's not a socialist. I know socialists. That woman is a communist. And what they don't say is that I was 16-0 last night. But mine were a little more boring, a little more mainstream. They were Republican conservatives. But we were 16-0. And if you look over the last 2.5 years, we're about 347 and just about 0. That's pretty good. But nobody writes that. But he picked 3. They won. They beat a guy named Dan Goldman, who's a loser. He was one of my prosecutors, one of my many prosecutors that they used on me. Dan Goldman, not a good prosecutor, fortunately, but he's now looking for a job. I was very surprised to see, because he's a pretty liberal guy. When they go more liberal than Dan Goldman, they're really into Never Never Land.
Does this tell you that the Democratic Party's 2028 nominee will likely be, or could likely be, a Democratic socialist?
Well, it should make it easier for Republicans, because most of the nation is composed of sane people. They don't want to, if you look throughout history, go back thousands of years, you've always had socialism and communism by different names. It's never ever worked. It's not going to work this time either. Yeah, please, go ahead.
Thank you very much, sir. As a Turk myself,
Whose phone is it? Don't worry about it. Is that you?
Not a fire alarm.
as a Turk,
It's right. Fire.
as a Turk myself, I can tell you with great confidence that your presence in Ankara is eagerly anticipated. What's your message to your great friend Erdogan and the Turkish people? Because you're going to be there in less than.
Are you from Turkey?
Yeah, I'm a Turk
Good.
myself.
Good. Well,
And-
I like him. He's a friend of mine, and he stayed out of the war. He was a prime candidate to go into the war with Iran, maybe on the Iran side, because he's not a big fan of Israel, as you know. And I asked him to stay out. He stayed out. And you know who else was great? Was President Xi of China. He could have come in. He gets half of his oil from that area. I could see him wanting to, and I asked him to please stay out, and he did. We did a good job, but he stayed out. Erdogan's a great leader, very strong person, great military, and I asked him to stay out, and he did, and so did President Xi, and frankly, so did Putin, if you really look. But you could say that Vladimir has some other things to focus on. But they all stayed out. I mean, it was pretty amazing. People were surprised.
Tied to that, Mr.
And
President.
I think that Erdogan look, he loves Turkey, right? He's doing a great job. He loves Turkey. I love the U.S., but he loves Turkey, and he's doing a great job. He's a respected man, a respected leader, and he's been a friend of mine. Now, I shouldn't say that, because guys like Peter would say, oh, he likes Erdogan. He likes Erdogan. No, Peter won't. Peter doesn't. Some of the others, let's say. But Erdogan is a strong man. But he's been everything I've ever asked him for, he's done.
And tied to that, Mr. President, Mr. Secretary-General clearly pointed out that allies want to do defense business with you, and Turkey is definitely one of them.
Absolutely.
They want the F-110 jet engines,
Yeah.
and they want the F-35 fighter jets.
Yeah.
Are you going to Turkey with a big gift bag?
I think so, yeah, I think so. Look, he's a member of NATO. Some people don't consider him so, but he really is. He's a strong member of NATO. Yeah,
Yes, he is.
I'm going to probably do something that's going to make him very happy.
And Turkey has
Tell him
a
hello,
huge...
right? Tell him hello. He's a good man.
And Turkey has a huge defense industrial base, 3,000 companies working all over the alliance, also here in the United States. So strong.
People don't know how big Turkey is in terms of the military. It's a very strong, they have a lot of our equipment, a very strong military. Because of
So
him.
what are your expectations, sir, about this meeting in Ankara? What do you think?
Well,
what are your
except for the fact that it
expectations?
was being held in Turkey by President Erdogan, I don't think I would have gone to it.
You must come for me.
But I might go for
I
I mean, I wouldn't have gone for, what we went through over the last 2 months with, the various countries. But you're probably right, I would have gone for you. But I would have not gone for most people. But he called me up, he said, please, I have it in Turkey, you got to be there. The United States has to be there. And so I'm going out of respect to President Erdogan.
What do you want the allies to do more than what they are doing right now? Do you have
be loyal.
an ask?
I just want their loyalty. We don't need their money. We don't need anything. We have the most powerful military in the world by far. But I just want loyalty. We're so loyal to them. We're always fighting for them. We have thousands of troops all over Europe. In Germany, we have 50,000 troops. And then you want give us a little nudge, give us a little kiss. We don't want much. And they say, no, we can't do it. We're paying hundreds of millions of dollars for the troops that we have in Germany, the troops that we have in UK, the troops that we have all over Europe. I will say Poland was very good. You know, I endorsed him, and he won. By the way, many people that I endorsed outside of the United States won. You know that, right? Do you know we had a big win yesterday with Colombia, a favorite place of Marco. Marco loves Colombia. But no, I endorsed a man who was, you know, the end, and he won. But the same thing in Poland. He was number 10. I endorsed him. I didn't like the man that was the president at all, and I endorsed him. He was a fighter, a big fighter, a good fighter, and I endorsed him. He came from 10th place and he won, and they say it was the biggest upset in Europe in 50 years for a major election. And you know what? He's going to be a great president of Poland.
Mr. President,
but we have many people, South America, but we just the other day, we endorsed somebody, that El Tigre. They call him El Tigre because he's tough. He's another fighter. I like fighters, again.
Mr. President, you like
but
winners.
he won.
Mr. President, you like winners. Do you think President Zelensky...
And that was NATO Secretary-General Mark Rutte meeting with President Trump at the White House. Of course, they talked about defense spending and Europe, defense spending being a huge and important topic for President Trump.